These are the two most important books I have right now, and we are going to go through them. This is going to be a very short video, but very informative, and I feel like this could help a lot of people. I want to preface, when I first started this journal, I was in a very confused place. I was very lost. I didn't really have any direction, and I really felt like I had no control over certain areas in my life, and it upsetted me. I had an idea of who I wanted to be, but I just didn't know how to get there. And I think feeling lost kind of just kept me in this place of just, repeating the same thing almost every single day. And, now, fast forward to today, I recognize the habits that I built over that period of time, and I recognize how tired I am of being that person. And you're always going to feel lost. Some days you don't, some days you do, but you just got to get comfortable in just doing something different regardless of the fact that you feel lost. If you want to be better but you don't know how to get better, you're going to feel lost. You're going to feel like all these things you're not, and you just got to let it pass. The mind is not your enemy. Sometimes it is, but you need to learn how to you need to learn how to conquer your own mind for the sake of your well-being. And I feel like what this book was my mind being the ruler of me, and I was a slave essentially to myself. And it was a very uncomfortable period in my life, but it definitely taught me a lot. Regardless of the fact that I was not in control of my mind, I had this idea that I could do something, that I can be someone. And the question I want to ask you is, why not you? You know, there's there's no limitation that someone can set for you. You are the limiter of the life you experience. And I'm going to read something that I wrote here. It's no matter what you think and regardless of what happens, only you can give something power. And if you believe that you can't do something, 99.99% of the time that is going to be true, because you are setting this limitation in your mind that you can't do something. And once you fully believe it in your mind, the body will follow. And the same goes vice versa. If you think you can do something and you just keep trying and trying and trying, eventually you're going to get it right. And, I just really want to get past this idea that I can't do anything, because I really believe that I can do anything. And in this period of my life, I felt like I couldn't. And I felt very scared to share my ideas, and I felt like I wasn't capable of being the one to deliver a message. I wasn't able to, sit down and have these conversations with people or just share my thoughts on, what I've been through and where I'm going. And I just really believe now in my body that I am meant for, so much more. And, a lot of the work that I'm meant to do in life isn't just to better myself, but hopefully to encourage other people to do things that they want to do. So, this book, I was dysfunctional. I was emotionally unstable. I was lustful. I had no disciplines, no direction. I was in a cycle of just constantly relapsing. And, I never felt comfortable in my skin. There was moments, there was, certain periods while writing that I did feel like myself, and I felt like I was on the right path, but I wasn't quite there yet. And I needed to build this identity that I wanted to become, and I needed to, make up this person, this alter ego who was everything that I wanted to be. And I made tips for myself when I was struggling with the things that I was struggling with, and I wouldn't always take my advice. I wouldn't always look out for myself when I was looking out for myself. And this is all to say that you're going to have to write. You're going to have to pick up a book. You're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to think about everything you aren't. You're going to have to write about things you don't want to write about. You're going to have to write your own affirmations, because at the end of the day, I can sit here and I can encourage you to become someone you're not. I can encourage you to chase a life that you truly can and are worthy of experiencing. But if you don't want to do the work yourself, you aren't going to get there. And I have to have that conversation with myself sometimes, because there's a certain life that I want to live where I'm able to just do whatever I want to do, and I'm able to help people, and I'm able to just, you know, be useful in a way that isn't truly self-sacrificing, because I felt like in the past I had that tendency of people pleasing. But my work isn't to people please. My work is to help people. Everyone is meant to stand on their 2 feet, and all I can do is just give you the encouragement and the affirmation to say that you can. And it might be difficult sometimes. You might feel like you can't, but it's possible. And you're gonna have to really dive deep in your mind and figure out who you are. And in this book, I wrote about just being bold and just be the thing that you want to find in life. Be this light that you're searching for in everyone else. And to be this expression that people can never forget about. Life is about being something so unforgettable that you just influence someone else to do something so unforgettable. And I want to create some kind of domino effect where I'm just the beginning of what's to come. I believe that I am great, I'm amazing. I believe that I'm so capable, and I understand that I have this gift of speaking through and through people, and that I have this ability to influence. It's taken a while for me to recognize this, and I really want to just be patient with myself. I dream so big, and I have these ideas, and the start of this video was why not you? And it's because I've been asking myself, why not me? What makes me capable or unworthy of wanting to do something that I feel so called to? What makes me unworthy of being able to, help or feed other people? What makes me unworthy to have some connection with other people? This is just who I am at my core, and I can't run from this. This is just, something that I'm moved by, and it's something that I can talk about like on and on. So, I had to write that I was moving on from being that needy or anxious person, that person that was just, self-sacrificing, and I had to reaffirm that I was confident and connected with others, and I'm living for myself so that I can be available to help other people live for themselves. I'm not some pretentious dude. Sometimes I think that I am, sometimes I really think that I'm the greatest thing ever, but I'm not pretentious, in a way where I think that I'm just better than someone else. I think that I can influence someone else to be better themselves, and that's what this is about. So this book is about just being insecure. This book is about being afraid. This book is about not knowing where you're going or what you're doing, but knowing that even though you feel like you're in a dark room, you're the brightest thing in it, and that you are capable of leading yourself out of any disaster that you feel like you're in, and that you are worthy of overcoming any mountain or obstacle in your way, and that you can do anything you put your mind to. I don't want you to leave this video without thinking that you aren't capable of something, because you are. You can do anything in this world, and I hope a lot of it is with good intention. You can change someone's life, you can change someone's mindset, you can change someone's approach to how they live, and I want to be that guy. And when I started this book, I really started to understand who I was. I still was all the things that I was in this book, but with awareness. And then you start to move on from the not knowing, and you start facing what you're actually going through. So I said, I'm not afraid of change. I know what I crave at my core. I want to lean into this, and this is something that I really feel called to, just being able to question others who think that they aren't worthy, because I sat in that moment for so long, and I dwelled on my thoughts, and I went back and forth with who I was and who I was trying to be. And I am currently saying, well, why do I deserve that? And the person I'm trying to become is saying, why don't you? You know, you can do anything. And, you know, I had to affirm to myself that I can and that I will, and that I know life is so much more than what I'm limiting myself to experience. And I just had to get up and do something. So I say this to say that I really don't know what I'm doing in this moment. I have no clue, but I know that I can do something and that something will come to fruition of this moment. You know, this will be a domino effect for me to grow into who I want to be. I essentially want to, you know, just be held accountable for who I'm trying to be or who I'm trying to show up as, because there's just so much that I want to do in life. And you don't need to have a plan to be ambitious about life. You don't need to have a dream, to have an idea that you can do something. You know, I had this idea that I can be something, and then that idea turned into a vision, and this vision is currently a dream that I'm trying to experience. So, you know, it's not always going to line up the way you want it to, but it's going to line up how it should. And I want you to take this. If there's anything that you want that you have to take from this video, it's that you can do anything you put your mind to. You know, there was a time where I was overweight, and you know, I really wanted to get in shape, and you know, now I'm on the path of just, you know, being in the best shape that I've ever been in. And I want more for myself. You know, I want so much more. I don't think I'm there yet. I think that I can be so much of a man that, you know, this doesn't even compete with that. So, you know, when you hold yourself to these standards, and I want you to hold yourself to a new standard where you say, I won't accept a life where I'm not the best version of myself. I won't accept a life where I don't get what I deserve. And when you do get these things, I want you to influence other people to do the same thing. Not in a way where you're bragging or, you know, you're materialistic, but in an authentic way where you say, look, this is attainable, and if I could do it, why can't you? So the question I have today is, what is your relationship with life, and what does that mean to you? And when you really sit down and think about that, when you ponder over the life you're experiencing and what your current day-to-day is, I want you to ask, why can't you have more? And why can't you become the woman, the man who does whatever it is that they crave at their core? You know, this is something that I have just, you know, delayed, and you know, I was scared to really like just, you know, show myself in this light, or you know, just in this expression, I will say, because I thought that people wouldn't understand me. And you know, sometimes that's going to be the reality. You know, people won't always understand where you're at or where you're going, because you're transforming and you're trying to become something you weren't. And you know, it's going to take a while. So be patient, understand that you can do anything that you put your mind to, and you're going to have ups and downs. You know, growth isn't consistent, but through time you will see the fruits of your labor. And I want you to know that it's possible. So why not you? You know, if anyone can do it, if anyone can have it, why not you? Don't limit yourself to your day-to-day. Life is so much bigger than what you experience. And I hope that one day you see that, and that really you wake up one day with this beating heart that says, I am meant for more.